Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news tonight on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. BJP forms three-member committee to decide presidential candidate panel to forge consensus with other parties ahead of the election on July 17. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley reacts to Maharashtra's announcement on farmers, says states keen on loan waiver must generate funds from their own resources. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari underscores need for a responsible press to hold power to account, cautions that onslaught on the freedom of press will jeopardize rights of citizens. And Supreme Court directs CBSE to declare NEET 2017 result for MBBS and BDS courses, tells High Courts not to entertain petitions after Madras High Court restrained CBSE from publishing results. Well, the BJP on Monday formed a three-member team to build a greater consensus on the government's candidate for the presidential election. The election is scheduled to be held on July 17, 2017. The members of the committee are Union Ministers Rajnath Singh, Arun Jaitley and Venkaiah Naidu.
BJP President Amit Shah on Monday formed a three-member committee to pick the NDA's candidate for the presidential election. The committee includes Home Minister Rajnath Singh, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley and Urban Development Minister Venkaiah Naidu. The senior leaders will talk to NDA members and pick a name to represent the alliance in the election. The opposition parties, including the Congress, TMC, RJD and the Left Front have also constituted a similar committee to hold talks on candidate.
As far as parties in opposition, we had our own meeting earlier and we have made our position clear. Whoever may be the candidate, candidate must be one who has strong commitment to the constitution and who is known for secular democratic credentials. We will see what the ruling party is going to do.
Till date, neither the BJP-led NDA nor the Congress-headed opposition have announced their presidential candidates. President Pranab Mukherjee's term ends on July 24, 2017. The presidential election will be held on July 17th and the counting of votes will take place on July 20th. Political parties have until 28th June to file nominations. July 1st is the last date for the withdrawal of nominations. Currently, there are 13 vacancies in the Electoral College that will elect the president. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari today said that the country needs a responsible press to hold the power to account. Ansari cautioned that any onslaught on the freedom of press jeopardizes the rights of the citizens. The Vice President made these remarks at the launch of the commemorative edition of the National Herald newspaper in Bengaluru.
खींचो ना कमानों को ना तलवार निकालो जब मुकाबिल हो तो अखबार निकालो.
Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari on Monday underscored the need for a free media, which he said is necessary in a free society. Ansari asserted that in today's age of post-truths and alternative facts, the primary role of the press as a watchdog assumes paramount importance in a democracy.
If press freedom is attacked, it will result in the jeopardizing of citizens' rights. When faced with unjust restrictions and the threat of attacks, self-censorship in the media can have the opposite effect, aiding the covering up of abuses and fostering frustration in marginalized communities.
The Vice President also noted that the constitutional framework provides for intervention by the state to ensure smooth working of the press, but such intervention should only be in public interest.
The state shall not impede the free flow of information that will go a long way in protecting and promoting the citizens' rights. The media, if it is to remain true to its calling, has to do likewise.
The Vice President's remarks came on the occasion to mark the launch of the commemorative edition of the National Herald to mark the 70th year of independence. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, in a big relief to farmers in Maharashtra, the state government on Sunday announced a loan waiver and decided to form a committee to oversee the criteria of debt relief. However, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said that states will have to bear the cost of these loan waivers themselves. A day after Maharashtra waived farmer loans in the state, its Revenue Minister Chandrakant Patil asserted that rich farmers will be excluded from the waiver. The government announced a high-level committee to finalize the scheme and omit rich farmers from the beneficiaries. On Sunday, Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis waived farm loans worth 30,500 crore rupees owed by 1.07 crore marginal farmers with immediate effect. Responding to the announcement, farmers withdrew their protests but warned their agitation will resume from July 24th if the government doesn't honor its commitment.
आज सरकार ने सारे किसानों की कर्ज माफी कुछ निकषों के आधार पर तत्वता मान्य की। निकष तय करने के लिए एक समिति का निर्माण होगा जिसमें किसान संगठन के नेता भी रहेंगे और सरकार के नेता भी रहेंगे और उस समिति के निकषों के सहमति के बाद वो कर्ज माफी मान्य होगी।
The development sparked similar farmer movements in other states. In Punjab, Shiromani Akali Dal activists joined farmers in demanding farm loan waiver and minimum support price. Amid the nationwide protests, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said states granting such loan waivers should arrange funds from their own resources.
States which want to go in for these kind of schemes will have to generate them from their own resources. Beyond that, as the central government, I have nothing more to say.
Jaitley's comment comes at a time when Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu are also facing farmers' protests. In April, the Uttar Pradesh government announced farmer loan waiver of 36,000 crore rupees, a decision that triggered similar demands from Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and Punjab. 6 farmers died last week in police firing during protests in MP's Mandsaur district. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley also took stock of the finances of public sector banks. Bad loans or NPAs were also discussed with the heads of these banks. The RBI is in an advanced state of preparing a list of bad loans where resolution is required under the insolvency and bankruptcy rule. Also, the government is actively working on consolidation of state-owned banks. The Finance Minister also said that there are challenges to credit growth and that speedy resolution for all pending NPA cases is a need of the hour.
I have already made the position concerned that states which want to go in for these kind of schemes will have to generate them from their own resources. Beyond that, as the central government, I have nothing more to say. Under the new ordinance which was issued, the RBI is at a fairly advanced stage of preparing a list of those debtors where a resolution is required through the IBC process. And you will shortly be hearing about it.
Retail inflation fell to a record low of 2.18% in May compared to 5.76% in the corresponding period last year. The fall was triggered by a sharp decline in the prices of vegetables and pulses. Consumer price-based inflation for April 2017 was 2.99%. Overall, food inflation was in negative territory at minus 1.05% during the month. Vegetable prices declined 12.44%, while pulses and products fell 19.45%. The index of industrial production also slipped to 3.1% in April against 6.5% in the same month last year. According to data released by the Central Statistics Office, manufacturing sector grew 2.6% in April, while mining sector grew 4.2%. Power generation rose 5.4% in April. Well, the Supreme Court on Monday directed the Central Board of Secondary Education to declare the NEET 2017 result for the MBBS and PDS courses. The date for the declaration of the result will be fixed by the CBSE. The Apex Court also directed all high courts not to entertain petitions on NEET 2017. The order came on the petition by the CBSE challenging the May 24th order of the Madras High Court that restrained the board from publishing the results. The CBSE had on June 9th moved the Supreme Court seeking an immediate stay on the Madras High Court order. NEET exam results that were conducted on May 7th were put on hold by the Madras Court over a number of petitions claiming that the exam wasn't uniform. Well, let's now take a look at some other developments from across the country and nationwide. The Karnataka Bandh, called by pro-Kannada organizations on Monday, evoked a poor response today. The Bandh was called in support of the farmers' agitation demanding the Prime Minister's intervention to resolve the drinking water problem in remote districts of North Karnataka. More than 50 protesters were detained from various places in Bengaluru. Calcutta High Court Judge Justice C.S. Karnan became the first judge of a High Court to retire while being absconding. Justice Karnan is facing arrest warrant for contempt of court. Karnan was declared absconding ever since May 9th when the Supreme Court passed a 6-month arrest order against him. Shashi Shekhar Vempati on Monday took charge as the Chief Executive Officer of the Prasar Bharati Board. After taking charge, Vempati said that his priority will be to make Prasar Bharati a modern broadcasting organization. He also said that his aim is to take DD and All India Radio all over the world through digital technology. In a joint statement, in a joint operation, the Army and Jammu and Kashmir Police on Monday busted militant group Hizbul Mujahideen's module in Kashmir's Handwara area. The force also arrested 2 militants from the site. The security forces also held 2 militants in the Avantipora area. Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi asked the centre not to consider him for reappointment for the country's top law officer post. According to reports, Rohatgi conveyed that he wanted to return to private practice. The decision comes days after the government extended his term. According to sources, senior lawyer Harish Salve and Solicitor General Ranjit Kumar are in the race as possible candidates. Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
The story we thought we knew. The story of magnificence. The story of bloody battles. Of those who ruled and those who left their footprints. The story charting the course of our past. Talking history on Sabha TV.
Rajya ki Baoli, located in Mehroli, is considered the most ornamental of Baolis in the national capital. It was built by Daulat Khan during the reign of Sikandar Lodhi in 1516. Rajya refers to masons who used it. The entire structure is subterranean, so only the topmost story is visible as the visitor approaches. Walk towards its steps and each lower level slowly reveals itself. The top floor has a row of arched niches. There are 3 levels going down with 66 steps. The Baoli complex has a 12-pillar tomb and a mosque with plaster decoration on it. Carved brackets support the chhajja below the parapet. There are rooms behind this arcade, meant for shade and shelter for visitors. The Bauli combines Islamic architecture with hints of Hindu engravings and geometric designs.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, French President Emmanuel Macron's party has stopped the first round of voting in parliamentary elections, putting him on course for an overwhelming majority. Clearly, Macron is continuing to impress the French a month after being elected the country's youngest ever president in May.
Emmanuel Macron's party on course for a landslide victory following the first round of France's parliamentary elections. According to exit polls, Macron's party, Republic on the Move, and its ally, Modem, are all set to win up to 445 seats in the 577-seat National Assembly. If the final results show the same numbers, it will be a remarkable feat for Macron's party that was established just over a year ago and has candidates that have little or no political experience.
Je souhaite remercier tous les Françaises et les Français qui ont participé aujourd'hui au premier tour des élections législatives et particulièrement celles et ceux qui, nombreux, ont voté pour les candidats de notre mouvement.
Such a margin of victory is expected to give Macron the majority he so badly craves to further his political revolution. It is noteworthy that Macron won the French presidency last month without the support of a traditional mainstream party. It was a spectacular election victory over far-right candidate Marine Le Pen. But Macron now needs a majority to push through the changes that he had promised in his campaign. The traditional Republican and Socialist parties struggled with the turnout and criticized the French electoral system.
Les électeurs patriotes doivent donc, dans les circonscriptions où nous sommes présents pour ce second tour, massivement se rendre aux urnes dimanche. Une forte mobilisation doit pouvoir nous apporter la victoire dans plusieurs circonscriptions. Et ces victoires sont essentielles.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel congratulated Macron on the great success of his party. With a huge mandate, Macron is hoping to carry out far-reaching reforms to overhaul the country's political system and economy. France is suffering from high unemployment, a stagnant economy and security worries. The final results will be confirmed next Sunday after the second round of voting. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, after last week's shocking election results, British Prime Minister Theresa May chaired her first cabinet meeting on Monday. May is also scheduled to meet the powerful committee of backbench Tories later in the day and is likely to face tough questions from them. May will hear first-hand anger of the Conservative committee members who blame her for the catastrophic election campaign which led the Tories to lose their parliamentary majority. Also known as the 22, the committee can challenge May's leadership if 15% of the Tory MPs write to the chairman of the 1922 committee against her. Meanwhile, Britain's Brexit Minister David Davis has said that the United Kingdom could still walk away from negotiations with the European Union without a deal. He, however, cleared that exit negotiations with the EU will start on the 19th of June as planned.
One part of my job, the invisible part of my job, is to prepare Britain for all contingencies, whatever is the outcome, the whole range of outcomes from this negotiation. And we have to prepare for the option that at the end of it, for some reason or other, because somebody's being pig-headed or whatever, we can't get an outcome, we can't get a deal.
Let's now take a look at some more developments from across the globe in Global Buzz. The Philippines marked its Independence Day with a flag-raising ceremony in Manila amid ongoing battles with Islamic militants. At least 58 troops along with more than 100 rebels and 20 civilians have been killed in intense street battles and airstrikes in Marawi. The ceremony is aimed at raising morale of the people who have been displaced in the battle zone. Thousands of people took part in the National Equality March for Unity and Pride in Washington, D.C. The march attempted to highlight discrimination and raise awareness for LGBT rights. The demonstrators demanded the U.S. president to recognize June as Gay Pride Month. It also disagreed with the Trump administration's decision to revoke landmark guidance to public schools, letting transgender students use bathrooms of their choice. US First Lady Melania Trump, along with her son Barron Trump, officially moved into the White House. Melania Trump and her son had remained in New York after Trump's inauguration in order to allow Barron finish his school year. Melania and Barron arrived in Washington with President Donald Trump on Sunday, which reportedly was their official moving day at the presidential residence. France said it will reinforce cooperation in the fight against terrorism and climate change with Senegal after Senegalese President Macky Sall met his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron in Paris. Macron appreciated Senegal's efforts to push back Islamic fundamentalists, as did Sall, who praised France's role in West Africa in fighting the wave of radicalism sweeping the region. Well, moving on to some sports news now, where the BCCI is unlikely to discuss who will be India's next coach in its special general meeting on June 26th. The meeting will most likely be dominated by discussions on implementing the Lodha Committee reforms. This essentially means Anil Kumble will remain coach for the team's West Indies tour. The high-profile Cricket Advisory Committee, comprising Sachin Tendulkar, Sourav Ganguly and VVS Lakshman, is also in favour of retaining Kumble. Former BCCI Secretary Sanjay Jagdale was the coordinator of the CAC, which had picked Anil Kumble as coach last year. Jagdale has also urged that Kumble be retained as coach for the Windies tour. Jagdale also said that there isn't a better candidate than Kumble for the job right now. Rafael Nadal posts with his French Open trophy on a barge cruising along the River Seine in Paris on Monday. This is the 10th title of Nadal at the Roland Garros. This title is a record for wins at a single Grand Slam in the professional era. Personally, too, it is special for Nadal, who spent 3 injury-plagued years after the last one when he beat Novak Djokovic in 2014. Rafa, who has only lost 2 matches at Roland Garros since his debut in 2005, is now just 1 short of Margaret Court's all-time record of 11 titles at a single Grand Slam. Nadal beat Swiss Stan Wawrinka in straight sets 6-2, 6-3, 6-1 on Sunday. This is Nadal's 15th Grand Slam title, and he now moves above Pete Sampras as on the all-time list of Grand Slam winners into second place behind Roger Federer, who is on 18.
Is on his back and he's claimed his throne.
He certainly has reclaimed it. Not sure whether he's going to hand it over.
So Nadal lifted the Coupe de Mosqueteres for a remarkable 10th time. It's his first Grand Slam for 3 years.
This one is the number 10. That's an important number. I really had some tough moments during the last couple of years with injuries, so be back playing at my best. I did it since the beginning of the season, but playing at this level in the most important event of the year for me, means a lot. So very, very happy. I don't know. I'm just very happy, super happy about what happened here. Have been magic 2 weeks for me. I enjoyed it a lot, and I felt the love of the people here in Roland Garros, and that means a lot for me too, because it's the most important event in my career. So feel all the support of the crowd and all the people from Roland Garros for me have been very emotional. And in the future, let's see. I'm gonna keep working hard to try to keep having chances.
Well, that's it for this newscast. Good night.